David, are you an atheist?
Yes.
When did you become an atheist?
Around age 12.
Believing in God makes no sense. It's to me, it's the dumbest thing. It's for people that can't accept the fact that they're going to die and rot in the ground like I'm going to do, and it gives them some relief from that thought, because it's not the nicest thought in the world.
Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Are you an atheist?
I am. Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Yes, I am.
Alex, do you believe in God's existence?
No, I do not.
How long have you been an atheist?
I would say probably since I was about 15 years old.
So you don't believe in the existence of God?
No, not really.
What happened when you were 15?
I started questioning things, and I really just started to think about the logic behind everything.
For the most part, we are not shown the evidence for there being a higher power. If we were, I almost guarantee that almost every atheist would immediately agree to there being a higher power.
Are you atheists?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I just haven't seen enough evidence, I suppose. I grew up in a Christian family, and just over the few years during high school and as I grew up, I just realized that there wasn't a lot of evidence to support that belief system.
Are you open to evidence?
I think I am open to evidence. It just would have to be extraordinarily compelling, like out of this world compelling.
If you could be given evidence, reasonable evidence, would you listen to it?
Yeah, I would.
You're someone who has no faith or no belief in a higher power or a creator, but if you were shown evidence, you would change your mind because you're open.
Absolutely.
Flick through the pages of the book I just put on your lap, look at the color pictures, and I'll ask you a question. Do you believe that book could happen by accident, that nothing produced the color pictures in the book, that red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet ink fell from the sky and formed itself into those beautiful pictures, and then black ink fell from the sky, or from nowhere, and formed itself into coherent words and sentences, capitals and periods and commas, making sense, page numbers fell from the sky, all in order, and then it bound itself and formed itself into a cover with artwork, and there we have a book. Obviously, intelligent design designed the book. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yeah.
Can you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Tell me, what is DNA?
What is it? Deoxyribonucleic acid. And it's what makes up our bodies and our cells and everything that makes us who we are.
DNA is like our biological code, kind of like binary zeros and ones. Information about us, who we are, what makes us, parts of us, how we look, how we're built, everything like that.
Your genes instructed your cells how to make your eyes and what color your eyes should be, and your hair and your height and your personality. Scientists call it the instruction book for life.
Basically.
Everything that you are or ever will be made of starts as a tiny book of instructions found in each and every cell. Every time your body wants to make something, it goes back to the instruction book, looks it up, and puts it together. The book of you would have 46 chapters, one for each chromosome. Each of our book's 46 chapters is between 48 and 250 million letters long. That's 3.2 billion letters total.
This is the secret language of DNA. This is the book of life.
Instruction book for life.
Yes.
Instruction book for life.
Yes.
DNA is made up of genes, and genes give instructions to the cells as to how your body should grow. Did you know that those instructions, the instruction book of your DNA, just your DNA, was laid out end for end, would go to the sun and back a number of times? That book of instructions is so comprehensive. DNA is the genetic information encoded in the cell of every living thing that instructs our cells how to grow and how to function. It's our genes that determine whether our skin will be dark or light, have brown or blue eyes, or red or green or yellow, have red hair, be brunette or blonde, be tall or not so tall, or the color of our feathers if we're a bird. Whether we're humans, fish, animals, insects, or plant life, the way our bodies look and operate has all been pre-written in the amazing book of our DNA. What do you think the mentality of someone who believes a book fell together without a bookmaker?
Well, they would be crazy.
Do you think a book could make itself?
No, I don't.
Of course not.
No.
Utterly impossible.
Yes.
If anything can happen by accident.
I mean, from nothing. Couldn't happen, could it?
I don't think so.
It'd be impossible.
It would be like saying an explosion caused everything that makes a 747 airplane to all just come together by accident without some intelligent thought behind it.
That's a good point. Do you believe DNA happened by accident?
No, I think that it developed over the course of many, many millennia of evolution and development.
DNA exists in every living thing. Its origins don't matter. The fact that there is intelligent information tells us there must be an intelligent designer. Is this making you think?
It is, and I do think about it from time to time. It's just, yeah, it's complicated, definitely.
Well, DNA's complicated, but the point I'm trying to make is very simple. Book designer or bookmaker, DNA, intelligent designer. God. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You an atheist?
I am.
What would you think of the mentality of someone who thought a physical book could make itself?
I think they'd be silly. Of course it can't make itself.
What would you think of the mentality of someone who believed the instruction book for life, DNA, made itself?
I think it'd be silly as well. It would need investigation.
That's atheism.
Absolutely.
And what would you think of the intelligence of someone who believed the instruction book for life made itself?
Low intelligence level.
DNA happened by accident?
Probably not too smart.
DNA couldn't make itself. It's impossible. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is this making you think?
Yes.
And what would you think of the person who believed that DNA, the instruction book for life, happened by accident? Because we're not just talking about human beings, we're talking about every form of life. Fleas, cats, dogs, elephants, cows, horses, trees, plants, everything has DNA, the instruction book for life. Which makes the book in your hand just seem feeble compared to the infinite intelligence that must have put the instruction book for life together. Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you believe DNA happened by accident?
I believe it could.
Explain it to me, how a program could make itself out of nothing on how to make a human eye, giraffe size, elephant size, cats, dogs, puppies, flowers, birds, trees. Every living thing has DNA that's so complex, it's mind-boggling. It must have been a genius beyond any human reasoning that put it together. And to say it happened by chance is infinitely sillier than saying a physical book happened by chance. All I'm doing is reasoning with you. I'm not arguing. I don't want to win an argument. I'm just saying I want you to concede something that's absolute common sense. You're an atheist, so you believe the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything.
I mean, it can't be nothing. We all have to start from some point.
I wouldn't say nothing created it. There had to be something there in the beginning.
You like Richard Dawkins, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I like him.
Do you believe nothing created everything, a scientific impossibility, which is what he believes? You don't believe in a creator of all things?
If he says that, I think it's a very strange thing to say.
Well, he says it. It's insane. Nothing can't create anything because it's nothing. There has to be something in the beginning.
Nowhere in our history of human reality has something kind of just appeared out of nowhere.
Do you believe that nothing created everything?
No, because nothing can perform actions. That makes no sense.
It's a default position. If you're saying nothing created everything, then you're agreeing with Richard Dawkins.
You're mischaracterizing Richard Dawkins, because Richard Dawkins, I'm sure he didn't say that. That seems ridiculous.
Professor Richard Dawkins, arguably the world's most high-profile atheist, believes that in the beginning there was nothing, and that nothing created everything. As he attempts to justify this belief, admitting that it defies common sense, the learned professor calls nothing something. Watch the reaction of his audience.
Of course it's counterintuitive that you can get something from nothing. Of course common sense doesn't allow you to get something from nothing. That's why it's interesting. It's got to be interesting in order to give rise to the universe at all. Something pretty mysterious had to give rise to the origin of the universe. But exactly what's meant by nothing, but whatever it is, it's very, very simple. And why is that funny?
Well, I think it's a bit funny to be trying to define nothing.
Richard Dawkins, I'm sure he didn't say that. That seems ridiculous.
The audience reaction confused the normally eloquent professor because he's not used to being the object of laughter. What he didn't realize, was he was talking to people who were endowed by their creator with the virtue of common sense. This was just another case where the emperor has no clothes. Someone should tell this man who has deceived millions, "You're talking foolishness." Is that what you believe?
I mean, it can't be nothing. We all have to start from some point.
But there has to be something that created everything. You just wasn't God. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's just evolution, how things became from one organism into many.
But that doesn't solve your dilemma of the initial cause. There has to be an initial cause. If there was a big bang in space that from there issued cats and dogs and horses and cows, the sun, the moon, the stars, the seasons, and all this marvel of creation came from a big explosion, what caused the explosion, and where do the materials come from the explosion, and why is there such incredible order from the explosion? Every explosion I've heard of creates chaos, not order. That makes sense?
Oh, yeah.
This is what you're looking for if you were looking for truth. This is your information that you need to say, wow, that's logical. How could all this design from the atom to the universe, an incredible order, just happen by accident? Because an atheist actually believes nothing created everything, which is scientifically impossible. And I'm trying to say, Haley, I just want you to think. You're not just a blob of nothing that it came from an explosion that created order, which is against nature. That means that you've got purpose and meaning in the universe. So it's not altogether bad news.
I just want a relationship with whoever built me. This is too much, too weird that it happened by accident. It didn't happen by accident. I don't feel that it did.
So I recently watched a documentary on YouTube that was all about the, quote, evolution of digital data storage media. And while the documentary itself was fascinating, there was one large aspect of the documentary that just left me feeling sick inside. Just left a nasty, bitter flavor in my mouth. And that aspect was all about the sheer stupidity. Yes, stupidity. The complete and total blindness and the willful ignorance of evolutionists. Evolutionists who do not believe in God, who do not believe in a creator, but they put total blind faith in the theory of evolution, believing ultimately that we all and everything in the universe itself, ultimately came from nothing, and that there was no need for a creator. They put blind faith in this ridiculous theory of evolution, and they reject that plain and simple and obvious truth, that all things in the universe, everything in existence, must have been designed, must have been created, that there must be a grand designer, a grand creator, a God who created all things in heaven and in earth. They reject that, and they go for the lie. So this documentary that I watched, once again, it was all about the, quote, evolution of digital data storage media. And you might be asking, what is that? What is this digital data storage media? Well, the documentary first looked at ancient civilizations, namely the Egyptians, and compared their systems for storing information, their media for storing information, to our media systems in the 21st century, and how their system, in many ways, is superior to our own. And you might be thinking, superior to our own? The Egyptians, they lived 4,000 years ago. How is that possible? Well, the Egyptians, they stored all of their information about their people, their language, culture, history on stone. And stone is a wonderful media for storing information. Why? Because it lasts for a very long time. It's estimated that inscriptions made on stone will last up to 10,000 years. The documentary then looked at ink and paper, and how ink and paper is also a wonderful media for storing information, storing knowledge. If it is properly cared for, ink and paper can last up to 2,000 years. So we compare these systems for storing information, these media, to our own media systems in the 21st century. And we realize that we have a problem that we're facing in the 21st century, a very unique problem, a problem that no other people before us ever faced. And our problem is that our media storage devices, Everything from what was 30 years ago, we had floppy disks, and then there was CDs, and then DVDs, and then Blu-ray disks, and then we got hard drives and SSDs, solid state drives. All of these digital data storage devices, these media for storing digital information. All of our media storage devices are far too frail to last for more than 40 to 50 years. That's all that they can last for. Not to mention that the technology changes so often that it becomes impossible to access the information contained on these media in the future, just as your modern computer cannot read a floppy disk. This is a very unique problem that we're facing in the 21st century. Very unique. And more than just that, the sheer amount of digital information that is being created nowadays simply cannot be stored on any known media that uses the binary code system of ones and zeros. Just to give you an example of how much digital information is actually out there, if you were to store all of the knowledge of the world, all of our knowledge, language, culture, history, everything that we know, store all of it on DVD discs, you would end up having a stack of DVDs that would stretch from the sun to well beyond the planet Mars. That's a lot of DVDs. So this is a very unique problem. And the documentary then looked at a group of scientists and engineers who are working to solve this very unique problem. And this group of scientists and engineers, evolutionists, they are right now looking at DNA, the DNA in all living organisms, but mainly the DNA of human beings, as the solution for this problem. How is it the solution to this problem? Well, DNA, and all of these scientists and engineers fully acknowledge this, DNA is an incredible, absolutely amazing system for storing information, and that it is far superior and much, much more complicated than anything we human beings have ever designed. Designed is the key word there. All right? They look at DNA as the blueprint to how to guide them into designing better systems of digital data storage media. And all of these scientists and engineers fully acknowledge that if the binary code system of ones and zeros were scrapped and a new code system were created, a system which followed the blueprint of the DNA double helix, which is not a binary system, but it uses 4 digits, not 2, but 4, then it would be possible to store all of the world's digital information in a space about the size of 6 cubic feet, which could basically all fit in the back of a large car. You get that? The binary code system, if it's stored on DVDs, it would stretch from the sun to well beyond Mars. But using DNA, this far superior system, much, much better system, as the blueprint to guide us into the creation of a better system for storing information, a better digital data storage media, then we could take all of the world's knowledge and store it so compactly that it could fit in the back of a large car. It's pretty incredible. Absolutely incredible. I see that, and I see God. I see DNA, and I see designer. It must have been designed because it carries information. It's not just random chemicals. It carries information. It must have been designed. That's logical. That's obvious. But then the documentary, immediately after talking about these scientists and engineers who once again look at DNA as their blueprint to help them design better systems, The documentary immediately went into an explanation as to how DNA, or it didn't explain how, because no one can explain how. They just say it. They just say that DNA spontaneously came into existence roughly 3 billion years ago at the bottom of the ocean, and that it was not designed. Did you get that? Do you understand that level of stupidity? I don't. I honestly do not understand that level of stupidity. It blows me away how stupid these people can be, how blind they can be, how willfully ignorant they can be, how the truth can stare at them right in the face and they don't see it. Any one of these engineers and these scientists, any one of them, if you were to ask them if a floppy disk, something as simple, unbelievably simple as a floppy disk, if you were to ask them if a floppy disk could come into existence by itself, every single one of these scientists and engineers would tell you that's preposterous, that's ridiculous, that's absurd. A floppy disk must have been designed. There's no way in the universe a floppy disk, or a CD, or a DVD, or a hard drive, or a SSD, or a computer, there's no way it could come to existence by itself. It must have been designed. That's obvious. And yet these same scientists and same engineers who look at DNA as their blueprint for designing far superior systems of storing information, pretty much every single one of these scientists and engineers would look at DNA and say, yep, that came into existence by itself. Even though they admit it is a far superior and far more complicated system of storing information than anything human beings have designed. I don't have a word to really describe that level of stupidity. I just don't. It blows me away how stupid some people can be. How blind and ignorant some people can be. It was King David who got it right, as he wrote in Psalm 139, verse 14, I will praise you, Yehovah God Almighty. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am fearfully and wonderfully designed. Marvelous are your works, and that truth, that fact, my soul knows very well, knows perfectly well. And the Apostle Paul, he understood this as well when he wrote in Romans chapter 1, verses 20 through 22, For since the creation of the world, God's invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, by the things that have been created, even God's eternal power and Godhead, so that people are without excuse. Although they knew God, they did not glorify Him as God, nor were they thankful, but they became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, these people become fools. You have no excuse to not believe in God, to not believe in a grand creator, grand designer, because His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that have been made. You see, the Apostle Paul, he understood the most logical of arguments, that if I were to see a painting, I don't need to know or see the painter in order to know with absolute certainty, 100% certainty, that there must be a painter. Why? The painting itself demands the existence of a painter, because the painting carries with it knowledge, information. You see the painting and you know it must have been painted. It demands the existence of a painter. No different than if I were to see a watch. The watch demands the existence of a watchmaker. Or if I were to see a building, the building itself demands the existence of a builder, an architect, a contractor. I don't need to see the person who built it. The building and the information of it demands the existence of a builder. That is perfectly logical. There is nothing illogical about that in any way, shape, or form. But it is completely illogical and totally stupid to look at all the universe and all of the information within it. Information that is vastly, vastly superior to anything that we have ever designed before, and think that it all came into existence by itself, that it was not created. Wherever you find information, you can know with absolute certainty that there must be an intelligence behind the information, someone who designed it. And again, these scientists and engineers would acknowledge that. If you showed them a computer, they would say it must have been designed. And yet, DNA and all forms of life are millions of times more complicated than any computer we have ever made. Oh, the computer was designed, but that life itself wasn't? Are you stupid in any other way? It's just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. But the truth is this, that the universe and all life within it are not just random particles and random chemicals floating around. From the largest galaxies down to the smallest subatomic particles, all the universe and everything in it, both non-organic and organic, is filled with information. And these so-called brilliant scientists and engineers, they look at DNA within all forms of life as their blueprint to help guide them to design superior forms of digital data storage media. They cannot see the truth that's staring them literally right in the face. And that truth is, the universe was designed. It itself demands the existence of a designer. Life demands the existence of a God who created it. And I invite all of you to open up your Bibles and read so that you can come to know and love that God, that grand designer, whose name is Yahovah. I'm Jake Hilton with the Sword of Yahovah Ministries, having come to you with a sound bite of the Word of God. If you liked what you saw, then please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And do not forget to click that subscribe button, because if you are interested in getting more than just a sound bite of the Word of God, a small morsel, but you would actually like to feast on the fullness of the Word of the eternal God, then please click that subscribe button, because every single Shabbat, every Saturday, we upload full-length teachings directly from the Bible. Thank you once again for watching, and we will see all of you next time. Shalom.